know what they're doing. I don't have a childhood nickname.
No, I got mine.
Did you hear me?
All right, Kyle.
The meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda, public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody knows we still have, this is a public hearing still open on local law of the year 2022, amending various provisions of Chapter 155 zoning. And then we also have the local law of the year 2022, repealing and replacing Chapter 67, building construction of the Marlborough Town Code. That one, if there's no objections tonight, we will close the one on Chapter 67 and vote on it. Until then, anybody have any questions on any of the public hearing changes? If not, we're going to go into the pledge. Oh, sorry. Wait, go ahead, Mickey.
So the only changes actually in the code are the two things that have already been discussed about the building. That's the only two wording that's been changed.
Yep. You got it. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a moment of silence, please, for all the brave men and women that give us this right to stand here today, and for the people of Ukraine, the men, women, and children that have been suffering and dying at the hands of a tyrant. Thank you.
I can't.
You still can't anyway.
It's asking for security. So I missed one more. I'm done.
I can't help you there right now.
Sure, it's turned on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I got a motion I need to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So do, so moved. Authorize payment of bills, and the bills are, where's my abstract? 200, I know it's 202,000, but let me just get the exact. $202,323.58. I haven't need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You missed motion 4 for approving.
You got to approve the minutes for the
Oh, yeah, sorry, Kyle, you're right. That's why I got you here. Motion to approve the February 28th, 22 Town Board meeting minutes.
I make the motion to approve town board meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, any comments on the agenda? Anybody got a comment on the agenda tonight? Okay, we have no presentations tonight, so we're going to go right into department. Let me get my report up here. Okay, so supervisor report March 2022. Attended the monthly Ulster County Association of Town Supervisors and City Mayor meeting where we discussed lifting the COVID mandates, discussed the winter ice storm damage, discussed the CAP program for centralized county arrangements, and received updates from Chris Kelly from the County Executive Office. Councilman Zambito and I met at with the Highway Superintendent and Water Superintendent to follow up on our department meeting to discuss possible future budget personnel requests. We also discussed what's the best path forward to make sure sidewalks are cleared during the snowstorms, and how can we do 2 water extensions I would like to be done this year in-house with the Water and Highway Department employees. Deputy Supervisor Appler and I met with Rosemary and Jerry Wine to discuss the DEC $40,000 estuary grant we received for the accessible kayak launch with Dan Miller from the DEC. Also attending were Howard Baker, Ed Mackey Jr., Colin Murphy from the Milton Landing Committee. We discussed the timeline for the project and the possible location of the kayak launch. I met with Superintendent Brooks to discuss the Bayside project pilot request from the developer Dan Rieger and Eric Baxter. Met with County Executive Pat Ryan and Deputy Executive Chris Kelly to discuss the needs of Marlborough and how the county distribution of the $34 million ARPA funds that they received can be utilized in Marlborough. Had to follow-up meeting with the Deputy County Executive Chris Kelly on ways he and the county executive can help me and the town with the Milton Landing CSX crossing delays. Met with Pavan Naidu from the Governor Hocho's office to discuss the needs of the town of Marlborough and see if the Governor Hocho can also help with the Milton Landing CSX crossing delays, which they have. I took Pavan on a tour of the town so he could see the deep roots of agricultural farming and wineries have played in the development of Marlborough. We also toured the Milton Landing, Sands Avenue Park, Cluitchance Park, the Tomback Building, and the Marlborough Nature Trail. Attended the Community Connections virtual meeting to discuss the power of your vote, registration, upcoming election cycle. Presenters were Ashley Didos and John Quigley from the Ulster County Board of Elections. Councilman Zambito and I met with Herb Litz from Greenwood Pedestrian Inc. and the Highway Superintendent John Alonji and Deputy Lazaroff and Water Superintendent Maggio to discuss future plans to upgrades to the highway and water building on 1650 Route 9W. And Greenman Pedersen is the company we hired as our new engineering firm, and this was to start the process to see to revitalize the water and highway building. Water Superintendent Maggio and I met with Julian Falco and Dennis Laris to discuss reclassification of the town dam. We also discussed the upgrades for the Marlborough sewer plant that we'll be putting out to bid to utilize the ARP money we received from the federal government. And Dennis is still working on that bid process, but that should be coming shortly, guys. So I'll get you that as soon as I get it. Attended the annual Milton Engine Company #1 Fire Inspectors Dinner to honor 25 years of service for Gary Lazaroff, Ed Bozier, and Steve Revicchio, and 40-year member Steve Nieder. They had a really good event, enjoyed ourselves. Deputy Supervisor Apple and I met with the County Sheriff Juan Figueroa to discuss the possibility of the Sheriff's Department docking their boat temporarily at the Milton Pier. And when he actually saw the pier and realized how tall it is, it's almost impossible to do. But he came down, we had a really good conversation also about the cap stuff we talked about, so that was good. Councilwoman Session and I attended a Zoom meeting with Tina Rosa and James Mullen to discuss ways in which we can fill the position of Camp Director, actually since I did Camp Director, it's Camp Health Director for the Marlborough Summer Camp. Met with our co-camp directors, assistants, and Tina Rosa to start the process of the town summer camp. We discussed the resignation of longtime camp director Kim Pomeroy, overview of rules and regulations, staffing, daily programming, registration times, and weekly rates for the year at camp. Attended the CAP stakeholders meeting in the town of Ulster to discuss with the committee members how the consolidation county arraignment system would impact Marlborough. And it would impact Marlborough in a financial way because they will pay for the court judges, they will pay for the court clerk. They possibly right now will pay for the transfer back, but they won't pay for the transfer there. So at this point, we would be on the hook to have to pay an officer to transport someone to Ulster. At least if it's just drop and go, it's only maybe a 2-hour turnaround, but it's still 2 hours. We don't have an officer in town. So this is still years away. There's no budget yet. There's nothing officially drawn up, but there's a lot of discussions going on about that. So attended a Zoom meeting with Deputy Supervisor Appler, John Beeham, and the Milton Landing Committee with the CSX representative to discuss the Milton Landing pedestrian and emergency vehicle crossing. We finally had a really good discussion. Again, I want to thank the governor's office and Pat Ryan's office, our county exec, who actually helped facilitate getting CSX a little more on board, I would say. And I think we actually now know what needs to be done, so we're getting close to getting that going. Attended emergency management planning meeting with Councilman Zambito, which was hosted by Deputy Supervisor Appler. Attendees were both the Milton and Fire Chiefs, Highway Superintendent, Deputy Highway Superintendent, Building Code Enforcement Officer, and the County Emergency Management Team. Gail Apper Jr. is leading the team to updating the town emergency management plan. And I could tell you the guys that came from the county, Everett Eckerson and Michael Madison, were excellent. I think everybody would agree. They came up with a lot of corrections for our emergency management plan. This plan should be updated every 3 years. It hasn't really been updated for about 5 years or 6 years. So, things change quite often in the town when it comes to new businesses and different entities that are in our town. So it's a good thing we're going through. And that's submitted by myself, Supervisor Corcoran. Okay. Building inspector.
Building Inspector's Report, month end, February 2022. Certificate of Occupancy 3, Request for Information 14. Building Extensions 13, Fire Calls 9. Fire Calls 1, Fire Inspections 9. Complaints 12, Burn Permits issued 11, Orders to Remedy 3. Building Permits, 4 addition renovations, 2 barns, 11 burning, 1 carport, 1 electrical, 2 furnace boilers, 1 pool hot tub, 2 sheds, 1 single-family home, 2 solar panels, 2 tank install removals, and 1 wood or pellet stove. Total permits 30 for an estimated cost of building $838,977. Monthly income, certificate of occupancy $450, permit extensions $5,053, building permits $5,053.50, request for information $2,300, fire inspection $680, burning fees $25 for a total of $13,561.50. Total gas usage 41 gallons, total miles 756.
Any questions for Tom?
Yeah, I have a question. Tom, on the complaints, we had a discussion last month where are the complaints going to be made written or they're going to be made verbally as well? I'm under the impression they have to make written. What is...
All complaints that I act on are written.
Are written.
But
okay.
I take verbal complaints. And
As
again,
well.
if a verbal complaint is simplistic and I can answer the question, because sometimes complaints are not for my department or something that we don't handle through the code, it could be answered through a phone call. If it is a code violation complaint, then it has to be in writing so we could keep the paper trail. So the difference between complaints and orders to remedies is the order to remedy actually goes to an official complaint that's filed in the computer. A complaint per se that's issued sometimes can be handled with a phone call by myself, a written letter asking for compliance, and again, I go into the order of remedy as a last call. I mean, I try to give our residents the benefit of the doubt that they'll react to my phone call or a letter, and then we finally go to an order to remedy, because the order to remedy finally leads into a court appearance ticket. So mostly, again, I try to keep the orders to remedy down and try to get the complaints taken care of verbally or through written letters.
Thanks for the clarification.
Sure, no problem.
Anything else? Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just getting Eddie. His computer was acting up on him. Just scroll down here. Scroll down to the bottom, then there's the agenda. Okay, next up is the police department. Jerry's out. Sherry, do you want to read this? You know how to read this, or you want? All right, let me. Go ahead. You got it? It's right here.
I got it on my phone. I'm good.
You got it? You sure?
Town Board of Town Marlborough, Chief Kokoza, March 14, 2022. Activity summary for the month of February 2022. Personal injury 2, fatal 0, property damage 13 for a total of 15. Summons issued 73. Parking 0. Complaint activity 1338. Total arrests 23. Telephone calls 1826. Police Department overtime, see attached. Part-time dispatchers 8 hours. Part-time dispatcher overtime 24 hours. Total 673. Police mileage 8194. And that's about it. Everything else is on that attached form.
Did you guys look it over? You had no questions, right?
If you have any questions, you have to send them to Jerry.
Yep. Or Jen.
Scott, how's Jerry feeling? Have you talked to him?
Jerry's doing good. Yeah. He's still out right now, but he's doing well.
Okay,
So-
it's good to hear.
I'll leave it at that, but he's doing well. Okay, Highway Superintendent, John. Thanks for coming, John.
It's always a pleasure to see you,
Pleasure,
John.
yes, it's a pleasure.
Was
to
that
be
the
here.
last storm
Great
Saturday,
smile
we hope?
here.
Oh, I hope so. I really hope
So do I with the gas prices. Geez.
Well, so my monthly report for February 22. The ice storm on the weekend of February 4th devastated many towns in Ulster County. Before the storm, we sent out road patrols to clear all catch basins. We sent out trucks to pre-treat and then called men in at 5 a.m. on Friday to plow and salt. We spent the rest of the weekend treating ice spots and scraping shoulders. Ulster County Emergency Management requested help in Stone Ridge, and also with Central Hudson, we sent 3 men to Kingston to assist them. In March, next month, the county executive, Patrick Ryan, will be hosting a special ceremony in appreciation of our dedication and support for the residents in Ulster County during the storm. The highlights of the month. Throughout the month, we clean catch basins, continue to cold patch in both towns, Marlborough and Milton. We continue road patrols checking for icy spots throughout the month with all the ice storms, obviously. On 2/1, we worked with the water department to repair a service line on Prospect Street. On 2/8, we had crews out to chip up trees and limbs from the ice storm we had on the 4th. On 2/9, we sent men to the town of Kingston to help out with their cleaning up after the storm that was on 2/4. There were several winter storms this month. On 2/4, we had snow and sleet. Forecast was for 5 to 8, received 4 to 5, and then ended up with 1 inch of sleet. 2/13, predictions were for a dusting of snow, but we received approximately 4 inches. On 2/19, a snow squall came through, all men out, plowed and salt. On 2/24, forecast was for 5 to 8 inches of snow. We received 4 to 5 inches of snow with another 1 inch of sleet. We spent the rest of the month trimming brush and trees in preparation for our paving projects for 2022. Gas usage was 183 gallons, diesel was 1,951 gallons.
You guys got any questions for John? Yeah, I don't know if people realize that our department and most county departments of the highway departments, when there's emergencies like that happen at the county level with the ice storms, we would get requested for help. And John was gracious enough to have 3 guys go up there, no problem, and help out with the county ice storm. And I thank you for that. And he will be getting recognized by that, like you said, by county
We
executive.
already
Yep,
received
so we received
our
it.
plaque, but next meeting I'll have it to show you guys.
So it's great that they do that. And again, I say this every meeting, but these guys have gone above and beyond since I've been in office. And you see the Tomback building being done, and what they've done up there is save the taxpayers thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So again, thank you, John. And I believe we're going to start the foundation
Supposedly going to start digging
tomorrow. So you'll see the footings are going to start going in tomorrow. And the highway department will be doing that in-house. And the water department also is helping, right, Charlie? Somewhat. Thanks, John. Water department, Charlie. Good evening.
Good evening, Charlie.
Monthly report for February. Our water consumption totaled 14,554,000, which is a daily usage of 519,806 a day. Compared to last month, we had 16,324,000 gallons, which is a daily usage of 526,580. And compared to a year ago, our consumption was $15,953,000 for the month, which is a daily usage of 514,612. Summary for the month, billing, people called for high bills, calls had to be alleviated, bills were mailed out. If anyone has any questions, feel free to give us, or problems, feel free to give us a call. Curb boxes, we had to repair a curb box on Hudson Terrace. Meters, again, we continue to get calls to replace frozen meters. Service lines, we had to repair service lines on Orchard Street, Albertson Lane, Old Indian Road, and Milton, and also on Prospect Street with the help of the Highway Department. Sewer, we helped repair the sewer pump at the Marlborough Sewer Plant. We also assisted in cleanup and renovation of the Tomback Building. Closings, we had 7, markouts 15, gas used 265 gallons, gallons of diesel 25, and the mileage for the month was 1,600.
Thanks, Charlie. Any questions for Charlie, guys? Thanks again, Charlie. And Charlie, thanks for all your help the other day. Charlie's on his back putting in the plumbing for us upstairs. We got a new sink thing put in by the, upstairs in our office, and Charlie came down. I asked him, and he came down and took care of everything. So thanks, Charlie. He never says no. Never says no. All right, Colleen, you're up. Grandma. If everybody doesn't know, Colleen's going to be a grandma and Tommy's going to be a grandpa. So congratulations.
It's very exciting news, people. Okay. Town Clerk Monthly Report for February 2022. Burn permits, 1 for $30. Conservation, 1 for $1.38. Dog licenses, 11 for a total of $65. Towing licenses, 1 for $250. Transfer station permits, 9 for $465. Punch cards, 20 for $1,340. Marriage licenses, 1 for $17.50. Building fees, 1 for $8,939.90. Fire fees, 1 for $1,145. Accident reports, 23 for $125. Burglar alarms, 1 for $20. Certified copies, 1 for $100. FOIA requests, 1 for $3.75. Minor sales, 1 for $50. Park fees, 3 for $1,300, for a grand total of $13,852.53.
Thanks, Carl. Any questions? Tax season's going good?
Yes, tax season's going good. The unpaid list will be coming out in April. Then I collect till the end of May. Then I go up to the Department of Finance and close
Yeah.
everything out,
been
finalize.
Pretty good this
So,
year, so
Yeah.
a
it's
little
been going
different than the
good.
last couple of years.
Yeah, it's rough, but it goes, it's a tough time, but it goes smoothly. I have wonderful help, thank God.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Water quality management. You want to read that, Dave? Or you got it up? You don't have it? I'll read it then. This is from Waste Quality Management Inc., from Julian Falco, March 1st, 2022. For the month of February 2022, both the Marlborough and Milton wastewater treatment plants compiled with the SPDES requirements, speedies. The following are monthly statistics for both plants. Marlborough wastewater treatment plant average daily flow of 156,000 gallons per day, about 89% of design capacity. Average BOD removal is 98%. Average sustained solids removal was 95%. The Milton wastewater treatment plant average daily flow of 31,000 gallons per day, about 56% of design capacity. Average BOD removal is 99%. Average suspended solids removal is 93%. So you can see our plants are doing well, and you can see the difference. 156 is actually pretty high for the Marlborough, but that's in the winter time we get a lot of extra flow down there from the melting snow. And so sometimes you'll see those gallons per day go up. But this is 89% of capacity, so you see what the reason is why we have to do some of these upgrades we're doing. So most of all the upgrades are actually going to be at this Marlborough plant. So both the Marlborough and Milton treatment plants operated normally during the month of February without any major changes or events. The high flow of the Marlborough plant was likely due to snow melt and rainwater infiltration into the collection system. The The highway department helped remove the grinder that was slowly leaking water around the digester tank. Well, that's some tank. We have determined that the lower bearings have rusted out and needed a replacement. We have ordered the replacement parts for the GP Jagger Inc. and should receive them in 3 to 4 weeks, which they have. DJ Heating and Air Conditioning helped repair 3 of the 4 exhaust fans at the Milton facility. We are currently waiting on a new motor for the last fan. Having these running will help with the high moisture within the building. Overall, both wastewater treatment plants are in good working order and are getting older. If you need any additional information, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you, Julian Falco, Water Quality Management. And yeah, thanks John and Charlie and Gary, and they did help them remove that. They did replace the bearings, and they hooked it all up, and then the pump blew up. So, so now we got to fix the pump, but we're getting there. So, dog control. Who wants to read the dog control?
I'll read it.
You got that? Yeah. Go ahead, Eddie.
Town of Marlborough Dog Control, Andrew McKee, Dog Control Officer, Bethany Wager McKee, Deputy Dog Control Officer. Monthly report, February. We received a total of 15 calls this month, including 2 calls to service from New York State Police and Ulster County Sheriff. Respond to 4 active complaints and/or cases which are now closed or resolved. We currently have 1 open case or complaint. We impounded 0 dogs this month. No appearance tickets were issued this month. We have 0 dangerous dog cases in progress in the Marlborough Justice Court. Warmer weather is on the way. Please check your fences, cable dog runs, and electric fences for damage. Dogs have spring fever too. End of report.
All right. And then assessors, I got here, she sent it late, but I'll read it from Cindy Hilbert. We prepared 5 TAC estimates and are working on 3 commercial TAC estimates. We proceeded 36 sales this month. We have completed the majority of our field work and building permit review. We have received back all our exemptions application, agricultural, veterans, and nonprofit, which we are currently processing. We're continuing to value our new construction. That's from Cindy Hilbert. And then planning board. All right, this is for the planning board review, February 2022. Manny, you want to read it? You got it?
I don't have it in my...
You don't have it? I'll read it.
I can read it.
You have it? You want to read it? Share it? Go ahead.
If you would like, sure. All right, Planning Board Review, February 2022. Application fees, $900. Escrow fees, $3,023.20. Recreation fees, $2,000. And invoices, $6,907.53. The meeting was held February 7th. Attendees were Chris Brand, Cindy Lanzetta, Joe LaFaro, Bob Tronsolito, James Garofalo, and Steve Jennison. The agenda: approval of stenographic minutes for 12/20/2021 and 1/18/2022. Approval for the 12/20 minutes was granted unanimously. Approval of the 12/20 minutes was approved with member Garofalo abstaining. Blasher Haffred, 346 Mount Zion Road, Marlborough, final for a minor site plan. Final approval was granted unanimously via resolution. The Pollock site plan at 39 Main Street in Milton was a public hearing site plan. The public hearing was opened. The board reviewed comments from engineer Pat Hines. Major concerns raised by the public in attendance included parking, truck traffic, construction phasing, the possibility of blasting, Main Street congestion, off-site parking controls and signage, and pedestrian traffic to Brewster Street lot. The applicant agreed to establish some type of plaque or signage indicating the site was home to the first firehouse in Milton. The board closed the public hearing but included a motion to allow written statements to be received for a period of 2 weeks. I have no idea how to say this one, Quang subdivision. 24 Plattekill Road, Marlborough is a sketch and subdivision. The board reviewed comments from engineer Pat Hines, which included a copy of ZBA approval. Possible issues regarding the deed were discussed, and the board requested clarification. The next deadline is Friday, February 11th, and the next meeting scheduled was Monday, February 21st. The meeting on Monday, February 21st was canceled, so the next deadline is Friday, February 25th, and the next scheduled meeting was Monday, March 7th. Respectfully submitted, Chris Brand, Chairman, Town of Marlborough Planning Board.
Thank you, Sherida. Thank you, Chris. Okay. So now we got our recreational committee for reports of the committees. Sherida had a recreation committee with our recreation committee members, and I'll let her follow up on that.
Yep, the Recreation Committee met on Tuesday, March 7th at Kedem Winery. They invited the Meet Me in Marlborough group to participate in that meeting in hopes of melding events as we go forward. The most pressing event that we have is the Easter egg hunt, which is going to be held on Thursday, April 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Dome. So most of the discussions centered around that, but then the committee is working on several upcoming events for the summer to take place after that, and also is working on melding calendars with Meet Me in Marlborough.
Yep, we've been trying to do that for years, so hopefully we'll get it done now.
Well, the Easter egg hunt is up on their calendar that I verified
That's on
earlier
there.
today, so.
So yeah, April 7th, thank you, Nick Pisa and the family, donating the Dome again to us. And again, it's going to be 5:30 to 7:30. I just got all the baskets and candy today, and we got 8,000 eggs came in the other day. So hopefully we have enough eggs this year.
Awesome.
It's a lot of eggs. Emergency Management Preparedness Committee, again, just to let you know, again, we had our meeting, our first meeting with Everett Erickson and Michael Madison from the county department, both fire chiefs. We had all our department heads there, and it went very well. So we're going to follow up on that, and hopefully we'll have an update within the next couple months, because there's additional things we want to do too. The Conservation Advisory Committee, I know we've been going back and forth with this of what we want to do. I talked to Sherida about it, talking to the board members. We don't have anything right now that's pressing on us, so we don't want to just throw something out at you guys and say, do this. I think we're pretty much covered down at the pier. We got like multiple committees going on down there, so for me, I wouldn't want to bring another committee in and then have that go, but anytime the CAC committee thinks they have an environmental issue that they want to bring up, I'm more than happy to look into it, but I don't have anything pressing on me right now, so. IT committee, we did get all our computers in. All our computers been handed out to all the members that received them. All our department heads and their secretaries or deputies have laptops now. This is in the new age of COVID and working from home possibly, and times like that. John, you don't got one from home because you can never work from home. You're an emergency guy. You always have to come into work. Oh, yeah, she could get one, though. Okay, that's a good point. You're right. Well, I'll write that down right here, John. You're right. See, when you're not down here, we kind of... Thank you. So that's all we have right now for the IT committee. Milton Train Station Foundation. I do actually have a report from them. I think I have it here, not that one. That's the Meet Me in Marlborough. Here it is. So Milton Train Station Foundation meeting, they had it on March 8th, 6:45 at the train station. Attendees were John Scott, Cindy Lanzetta, Glenn Botto, Rosemary Wine, Joanne Pagnotti, Town Board Rep Manny Cauchi, and guest Al Lanzetta. Treasury report submitted by Ed Mackey. Checking account balance was $240.09. Savings account was $82,672.88. Approximately $50,000 earmarked for the grant for the landscaping. So they are generously donating $50,000 towards the pavement project that's going to take place down there in conjunction with the grant. It's the matching part of the grant of the $560,000 LWRP grant. Ed filed the 990 paperwork for the 501c3. Deck repair, Glenn Botto. Glenn explained the problem with the green wood Eastern outside decking replacement will require extensive work. Glenn had a conversation with Supervisor Corcoran, and the town is willing to replace the deck, and I had a conversation with my deputy, Gail Appler, and we will be replacing the deck with Trex decking. I know it doesn't match what they have there now, but it's something that's going to be safe and last for a very long time. We keep putting back this pine boards there, and they just rot out every year or so, and so there's many holes in there. Ballard, Cindy Lanzetta spoke to Highway Superintendent John Alonji, and he's willing to work with the foundation to put in bollards to protect the western exterior of the building. Now that the work will need to be coordinated with the plans of the resurfacing of the parking area, Rosemary Wine volunteered to coordinate the work with the town and the consultants, and this is so obviously people don't drive through the train station as they come up. Rosemary brought up correspondence in the mail. She will contact the mail preservation group to have the train station listed and give it to the town information for contact. Discussion about original lost historical plaque. John Scott will try to get more information as the replacement idea and the cost. Discussions about flagpole location in regard to the landscape plans will remain in place for now. Discussion about use of freight room. Rosemary said there are grant monies to do the study to see how they might utilize, and we also discussed that would be dependent on accessibility. The current state of the freight room necessitates a clean-up day for the board. Members of the access what materials need to remain in the room and what needs to go. We will circulate some Sunday dates in April and schedule the cleanup. Mark your calendar with these dates. The quarterly meetings are in 2022 is June 14th, September 13th and December 13th, possible holiday meeting to be determined, and that's respectfully submitted by Cindy Lanzetta. And Manny, you want to add anything to that since you were there, or is that pretty much solving it?
Yeah, it was a good gathering. They discussed a lot of the station's needs, and a group full of historians. I like what I saw there, and it was very informative. And I was glad that I attended and participated.
Yep, they're a very professional group, so that's...
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And they've done a lot of work down there.
Yes.
Milton Landing Citizens Committee. We've had a bunch of meetings on and off with John Beeham, Cynthia Beeham, our committee members, CSX, discussing the crossing and the utilization of the grant money. The grant money, I started talking to Barbara about the grant money. We're getting some bills set up for her, and that's from the state. But the main problem is, we're not going to move forward with the whole project until we get the CSX crossing situation finalized, because we really can't design what we want to design until we know where the exact crossing is going to be, and that's what we've been discussing. Last meeting, like I said, was very productive. For the last, I want to say 4 months, we were under the assumption we were waiting for a final plan from CSX and DOT. We have earmarked $13,000 in our prior board for CSX to do engineering work. In the grant money, that was the $560,000 grant, $23,000 is earmarked for DOT engineering. So we were assuming that's what that money was for, but no, it's not. The engineering, the $13,000 that we gave is actually like an escrow account, if you want to say, that CSX uses when they review our plans, and their engineers look at our plans. So we still have to give them the exact spot that we want to have. So just so you know, John Beeham, we actually already hired to do this project, he's working with Jason, his engineer, and their team, and we're going to meet down there this week coming, and we're going to get to the exact spot where we want to put it, and then they're going to design it. We're going to submit it to them. CSX then reviews it. If they okay it, then DOT reviews it. If they okay it, then it goes to the planning stage to actually start doing it. They have to have this done plan-wise by August of this year. It has to be finalized what we're going to be doing there. So again, until all that stuff happens, The other planning part of the landing is being held off till we know this. So just to follow up, we'll get more on that as we go. Marlborough Hamlet Economic Development Committee, I have not heard anything from that at all. Meet Me in Marlborough, as Sheridan said, they were involved in our recreational side of the meeting, and they reported March 14th, 2022. Meet Me in Marlborough, Town Board Report, Tuesday, 3-1 Zoom meeting, which Shara Sesha from the Marlborough Councilwoman, 3-8 attended the Town of Marlborough Recreational Committee meeting, 3-9 Zoom meeting with agricultural members, 3-11 Meet Me in Marlborough participated in the Marlborough High School workshop event, and slideshow showcasing the Marlborough agricultural was presented to students. Saturday, 4/23, rain date, Sunday, 4/24, Blossom Street Fair in the hamlet of Milton to celebrate the beginning of agricultural season. Shops, businesses, crafts, school groups, farms, and community organizations will be involved, and that's thank you, Meet Me in Marlborough Committee. And that's a pretty good little thing that they do, the Blossom Street Fair. So that's going to be on 4/23 or 4/24, depending on the rain. So thank you, Sheila. Hammett and Milton Association Committee, I have no report from them. And Transfer Station Review Committee, I don't know why that keeps popping up. Transfer Station Review Committee, I have no report back on that anymore. Just so you guys know, this Transfer Review Committee has been on here for quite a bit, and it's been kind of stagnant for probably a year and a half now, maybe 2 years because of COVID. But no, the idea of this committee was to actually possibly have a universal 1 or 2 people doing the garbage pickup in our town, and it hasn't really taken off. They got a lot of negative feedback from other towns that were doing this, so it's kind of just been sitting out there. So I know we could keep it on there, but eventually if we're not going to do anything with it, and no one's actually meeting, we probably shouldn't have it anymore. But anyway, for now we'll keep it.
Scott, can we just go back to the Hamlet of Milton Association for a second?
Yep.
Just so everyone is aware, their spring fling has been announced,
All right.
and it's April 28th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Locust Grove Brewing Company.
When is it?
April 28th.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon.
It's a Thursday night.
You missed the party?
It's a Thursday.
All right, old business. Tom back, rehabilitation update. So the vendor was notified of the asbestos rewarding of the bid. So that's the second lowest bid. The lowest bid, as we discussed our last meeting, he had to be taken off the list because he is barred by New York State to bid on municipal projects. He's been awarded the bid and he's been notified, and I believe by next week next week or the following week, he's going to actually start the asbestos removal. We're hoping that takes a week to 2 weeks. This did push us back a week in our time frame, just so you guys know. So the bid for the actual remaining part of the building is scheduled now for April 11th. So that's the day it's supposed to go out to bid. It's my birthday, so hopefully that's a good luck charm, or it might not. But as you know, as everybody's been reading what's going on in the world, prices have started to go back up. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that this bid will come in, but if it doesn't, then we'll have to reevaluate and see where we go from there. But as John said, they're going to be starting the foundation work, and we are going to get that work stuff we can get done within our budget. We're going to do. Asbestos work's going to be done, and then we'll see what happens. South Pier update.
So, I got a question.
Go ahead, you got questions?
You said that next week the asbestos guy is going to start?
He's going to start setting up, as long as he's got to get his bond all in place, which normally
Okay,
don't
all
take
the
that long.
contracts are executed and
yeah,
the bond is
yep.
in place and,
Yep.
okay.
That's what he's got to deal with this week. He has a 10-day window, so he should have everything. He should be having that bond in place, I'm assuming, by the end of this week.
And he
all the
notified the
paperwork.
agencies and all that good
Yep.
stuff? Okay, good,
So that's where we're at.
good.
South Pier update. So I did get Brandy notified Arbin. They will be coming up hopefully if not this week, the following week, to start getting those final steel piles checked out for us, and we could get the certifications into the building department. That's what's holding up the pier from actually be open now. As you know, the sign is still up because we have to get those certifications done, and Arbin says they will be doing it. Again, if they don't do it, then we're going to do it. I put up this design because this is what just came back from Brandy.
That's not up on the screen.
Oh, sorry, it didn't come up, huh? What happened? That's weird.
Looks good on your screen.
Yeah, but it froze up, I think, up there, right? Did it freeze up? Now we're back in action.
There you go.
There we go. I'm doing the wireless for the first time over there, so it's good. So here's these are the original 3 pylons here, the original 3 pylons here. So what Eric Dunsel, he's the American Cruise company that he wanted additional 3 piles here. So in total 9, which our permit allows us to have 9, so we can do that. The problem is right now that this is 40 feet deep to the bottom of the water. So you need at least probably 60-foot timbers if you were going to use timbers, which are very hard to come by if you can even get that deep. So we're going back to steel. And she's still working up the numbers. The numbers she first gave me is like not even close to what something reality we could even look at doing. So again, American Cruise Line is very, very interested in getting this project completed. They actually do want to probably contribute to pay for these pilings, but not at the last price she just gave me. I'm not even going to tell you the price because it's not a real price, so I don't want to put something out there that's not really real. She's still got to work the numbers, because my question to her was, when these were designed for a 3-pile system, they were designed for a wood pile system, timber piles. So just like we did with the pier, we reduced the amount of piles because we went to steel. I said, why can't we reduce the amount of piles if we're using steel here, right? Why would we need 3? So we might be able to get away with 2, 2, and 2. So she's got to talk to Eric. Eric's got to talk to his crew. Then they got to see if their boats can accept that back, and that would significantly lower the cost. But they are still very interested. They would get this done in short order. They would probably do this themselves. They would bid it out, and then we'd have a franchise agreement of some kind. Again, there's a lot of numbers that have to be worked out here, but this is nowhere near where we have to be. But I'm just giving you an update of where they want the piles. They want 9 piles now. Okay? All right. Any questions on that? You guys are good? All right, number 11 is new business. This is motion to sign the agreement with Brian and Laros capital project for the Hamlet of Marlborough wastewater treatment plant. This is it's just basically the telling Dennis, who we already contract with, who's our engineer for the water and sewer department, to move forward with getting the bid packages complete for the ARPA money for the Marlborough sewer plant. So we're going to be bidding out 5 items, I believe. And once I get those from him, I'll give them to you guys. But we have to agree that he can do this contract. Put in the ARPA money is money for his engineering services, so it would be paid out of there. So I just need a motion by the board that I could sign that agreement.
I make a motion Supervisor Corrigan can sign the agreement with Premier Larios Capital Projects, the Hamlet Marlborough wastewater treatment plant on Dock Road.
Need
A second.
Manny seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
So moved. Thank you, guys. Correspondence. So going back to, so we are in a public hearing. Going back to the public hearing for the section of the code 155 that we're going to be changing, we have to refer it to the planning board. So I want to read you the letter that I got back from Chris Brand. the Planning Board Chairman, and it says, at the March 7th, 2022 meeting, the Town of Marlborough Planning Board, the letter sent from the Town Clerk dated February 28, 2022, regarding proposed local law amendments regarding the various portions of Chapter 155 was discussed. The Planning Board unanimously agreed to take no exceptions to any of the proposed changes and no additional input on the amendments as proposed. So, and that's from Chris Brand. So the Planning Board is in agreement with what we want to do in 155, so that's good. And I got a correspondent, dear Mr. Corcoran, with your permission, the Marlborough United Soccer Club would like to request the use of the lower round pond Cluett-Shant soccer field for Spring 22 recreational youth soccer program Saturday, April, June, through June from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The specific dates are 4:30, 5/7, 5/21, 5/28, 6/4, 6/11, tentative end date 6/18. Regarding insurance, we are a member of the East Hudson Youth Soccer League and it will be provided through the league for the field and the players. It is currently on file with the town clerk. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me regarding this matter. And that's Dina Mensard, Marlborough Youth Soccer, United Soccer Club, and I assume you checked all that, Colin?
Yeah, but we're still waiting for their insurance. It's just like a...
Okay.
They'll give it to us though, but yeah, they're okay in our book, so as long as it's okay with you.
So I just need a motion that you guys are okay with the United Soccer Club of Marlborough to utilize the soccer fields for those dates.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, I got one here. Okay, so this is from Katia Fernandez from the Zumba classes. And Katia does this every year. She does the American Heart Association. She does a fundraiser for them. So she wants to know if if she could use the park on Sunday, May 1st, to do the Zumba fundraiser for the American Heart Association. And so I told her I need to ask the board if that's okay. I know that Danielle put that in the book, or Colleen put that in the book, I believe, for May 1st, and that's a Sunday, because she said Saturday was already booked. Is that correct, Colin?
I'm checking right now. I believe so. I just want to double check before you go ahead.
So I would need a motion if you guys are okay with that.
I have her in here for 3 to 6.
May 1st, right?
First.
Yep.
That's a good cause. I'll
Yep.
make that motion.
And you have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'll let her know. Okay. This is from Robert Davinkin. He's from the Marlborough Police Department. And this is to Chief Jerry Kokoza and Town Board members. Dear Chief Kokoza, I respectfully submit my request for retirement from the position of police officer in the Police Department of the Town of Marlborough, effective 001 hours on March 21st, 2022. The purpose of my request is to relocate to the state of Florida and establish residency therein. As I complete a police career of 41 years and 11 months, I wish to state that it has been both an honor and a privilege to serve under your command and with the ranking officers, patrolmen, and civilians of our agency. The Marlborough Police Department has become a second family to me, and I've had the pleasure to share numerous friendships and experiences with department members in both on and off-duty venues. In short, my taking leave of our department and moving into retirement is truly a bittersweet event. May God bless you and keep you safe, along with all the other department members and their families. Sincerely, Robert Davinkin. And that's Police Officer Shield number 28. So congratulations to him and his retirement. 41 years is an unbelievable achievement for a police officer, so congratulations. Dovik. And that's all I got. Jasmine Taylor is going to come back next meeting, and that was on the town park request, so
I had a discussion about that, saying that you want to come in and talk to her about the maintenance and,
yeah,
so she's going to discuss it.
okay. Public comments. This is the time for public comments. Mickey, we want to talk about, come on up. You cold?
Good evening.
Good evening. Mickey Simonowski, Marlborough, New York. Actually, I had two questions that came up as a result of the meeting. Is there a Marlborough liaison to the Red Cross, the County Red Cross, that would come under the emergency medical program yet? No.
Well, I would assume, there's no specific to the Red Cross, but a liaison to the Emergency Management Committee, which would fall under, the Red Cross would fall under that, but no specific.
Because Kathy Greeno used to do that. I was just wondering if she had been replaced, or if she still is, or if...
No, her name is actually in our emergency management plan still to be that, yeah.
All right, that answers that
But the
question.
liaisons would be me and Dave to that department for that,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Maybe I used the wrong word.
Okay.
At any rate, Kathy is named on the plan right now. Got it. Okay, and for the dock area, who would you be consulting with that has a lot of experience with that kind of information to make sure that your future negotiations go well?
I'm dealing with Brandy right now, and she has a couple of consultants that she's going to be bringing in for the town.
Okay.
On her end, Brandy Nelson, our engineer. You know, she deals with, this is what she deals with, the ports and the docks and all that. So like, again, I've said from the beginning, I know nothing about docks, I know nothing about piers, but I'm not going to give the pier away to the first person that pulls up here. So, so she's got some consultants with her. She hasn't given them to us yet because we haven't even got to the point of negotiating yet because the price is outrageous right now.
Gotcha.
For the actual fender piles. It's double from the last price that Howard told you, so more than double. More than double.
More than
so I don't, at this point, I wouldn't see American Cruise spending that much money, but, you know, we're trying to work it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in regards to the other thing, for the community connections, I totally understand why your engineers can't attend. That's not a problem. But in order for us to still do a public presentation, if any of the board members would like to lead that discussion or add into that discussion, we would be happy to invite you. This is a non-political, non-partisan thing, even though the Democrats are organizing it. We want to do it solely for the purpose of helping our residents be informed about what's going on in another presentation orientation. So if anybody wants to do that, otherwise we will have to rethink what we are going to be doing next month, which is also okay. We just need to know.
I don't, like I said, I don't mind, I could put the same slideshow I put up that I had for the last meeting. I just, when I talked to Phil and Sarah, it was like, you know, they're not going to do it for free, and I'm not going to pay them again. And I was
totally, as I'm typing that out, I'm going,
so I said, I'm not going to pay. I said, but, you know.
This is going to be a few $100
me,
that the
I'm
town
a
doesn't
public
want to
servant.
spend.
I mean, I know Dave had some.
So I'd like to elaborate on that. I mean, after reviewing your email that you sent out, and I read it over, last night, I actually went on the town website, and I watched the whole board meeting from February 28th. And just like myself, if anybody's interested in what's going on at the Tomvac rehabilitation, they could easily type on there and watch the 40 minutes of Ciro and Phil speak. So I agree that this forum that you guys are putting out is a great connection with the community. But anybody in the community that's concerned, I got to tell you, it's almost embarrassing to look out in this audience. Nobody attends meetings.
This is
So
why
for you,
the idea came up.
For
to be
you
very
and whoever's
honest with you.
behind the community connections, I think it's great. But what's gonna bring people down to the train station or the library, we're gonna have a meeting, or here for that matter? They're not attending. This is why we have public board meetings bi-monthly. If they're not gonna get out and attend that, what's gonna make them attend your meeting? You know, so I think it's a great thing, but I also feel that if they can't make this meeting, it's easy to type on. Most every household has a computer. They can type on, they can put it next to them while they're laying in bed, they can watch it during dinner. You know, it seems to me it's easier to do that than it is to have to put your boots on and go down to another meeting. You know, I mean, this is why we have these meetings. I'm all for what you're saying, but I just don't see, and like Scott just mentioned, these professionals that we have, they are not taking their personal time to come out and speak when they already just spoke a week ago, 2 weeks ago, for free. I don't even think they're going to do it for a fee. at this point, they already did it.
Trust me, they'll charge us. If I ask him to be there but he charges, I'm like, I don't want to spend taxpayers' dollar on something I already did, but I mean, if you want.
But here's the other thing, is everybody that's sitting here is available.
Yeah.
If there's any questions, call my personal phone. I'm sure you email us, whatever we can answer, we're here to do that. I don't think we need to go to an additional meeting and discuss something that we just discussed 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Mickey, if I understood your email correctly, I know you were pushing to get people out in person based on their feedback. But maybe for this particular topic, it makes sense to do one more virtual gathering where you can play the recording of the presentation and then have Scott or Gail or someone who's very well, not Gail, sorry, you're probably more involved, but one of the board members who's more involved with the project on to answer live questions after the recording is played. Might be a decent compromise.
That makes total sense, and I'll check with our tech person to see if that's easily doable and if it would show up correctly on screen, et cetera.
Yeah.
Really, the intention is to really attract people to know that there is stuff going on in town. So the Tomback building sounded like it would be the perfect thing for people who just would say, Tomback building? What's going on with Tomback building? I mean, I've been going around town. People do not know what's happening. And anything to get people energized into participating in everything would be helpful. So this is the core reason why this concept even came up. And we're open to changing it, adapting it. We've only done 2. Perhaps doing it by virtually all the time is the really best answer anyway, because people, like you said, could sit down in front of their dining room table and watch it or participate or turn it off and nobody knows who's listening and who's not. But we did have 33 people at the first one about the Milton Revitalization Plan, Mr. Pollock's plan. We had 18 people at the voter presentation.
I was at both of them.
And you were at both of them. Voting is not romantic.
Yeah.
Although it should be. I mean, that should really be something that brings every single voter out to find out what's going on. And that was inspired by virtue of how few people came out to vote in the last general election.
It's a different generation.
It's a different
We all know
generation.
this.
But
You know,
less-
when I graduated high school, we registered. It was we wanted to.
Right.
You know, we were brought up that was a privilege, and now it's not a privilege anymore. You know, let's face it, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Different world. So, once again, we're open to anything that the board would like to have brought to attention of the public. That's what we would like to do. And in the meantime, we'll just regroup and figure out how we're going to handle this.
The only other thing I would say is I didn't watch it minute for minute, the town board meeting on YouTube, but what you lost was the visuals, because you couldn't see it. You could only hear them talk, and so if you didn't, not having the visuals was a big.
I agree.
Was a big.
Yeah, we couldn't see what was on the monitor. Right, I agree.
Like I said, I don't have a problem. I mean, I'm always available. So like, if you want to have it,
Okay.
Scott knows
I
that
could do it.
project's
I have
like
all
the
the
back of his
slides. I
hand.
have everything that.
I'll come as well. I mean, I have no problem.
And the other thing is.
I just don't want to pay the engineers and architects again.
I understand.
The engineers, the other thing, Dave, that you said at the meeting, that when they were talking about the exterior, and you said, oh, we'll get a lot of feedback on that. And I thought, this is sort of a soft opportunity for the town board to not get your necks out there, but to sort of sell it and see what kind of feedback you get.
Sure,
In a very kind of neutral way.
I agree.
But the visuals was the problem. You really couldn't.
Yeah.
I think it looks so great.
No, it does. And like you said, I'd be more than willing to attend the meeting and answer any questions that I can.
And the other thing is that so mainly to sell, and or not to sell, but, to promote. And,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why I would think it would be a good idea just to do it even without the engineer.
Sure.
We don't need that level of detail.
No, I think it's, like I told Mickey originally, I think it's a good idea. I just don't want to spend the engineer.
And as I said, as soon as I type that, I'm going, engineers are going to charge. Scott's
do
not going to
nothing for
pay
free.
them. Are we going to get asked to pay the
trust me, he's
fee?
getting
Because then
paid.
we
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't be able to pay the fee.
He's getting paid very well, so I don't want to even pay him another more.
All right, so I will just say this. We will regroup. I will ask you I will let you know within 24 hours what we're going to do for April. And
I mean, I'll do, if you want, you could do a live one with the Zoom meeting, whatever. If people want to come and watch, come in person, and people want to come and see it on TV.
Mickey, I've been on the board for
It's up to you.
14 years, and I know what you're going to get. I think with your Zoom, people will go from their houses and watch it, but to physically go somewhere, you're not going to get them. They're not. You've been here, and that's 14 years. Every time we've had a meeting for anything outside and coming to meet us, no one shows up. It's like this.
Well, listen, Ed,
Let's try.
like
Let it
Mrs.
try.
King said, it might be better with the visual, like she's saying.
I'm
So,
saying if he does it on a Zoom with the visual,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get more people sitting at
Well-
home and watching it than you're going to get to come to a place to do it. I've been doing this a long time.
whatever you decide, we're
Whatever you
Thank
decide.
you.
We're on
We'll
board.
figure it out.
thank you.
Well, I got a question. One of the questions I have, and this has been, so many people's dream and a big journey with this pier and now with the park and American Cruise Lines. And once this is finally happened and we're bringing people in, have we ever thought about, what we're going to do with all these ships coming in and what's the next step? Is Meet Me in Marlborough going to get together with the area wineries and the area pick your owns and have vans and bring them to different locations for an hour or two? That's
How it
parked?
works, Manny, is the American Cruise Line sets up all the tours. It
They
goes
handle
through,
all
goes
that.
through all of them.
Yeah, American Cruise Line sits towards us.
So the cruise line is the one who sets up the tour.
The entertainment.
Cruise line is the one who sets up the transportation. So it's just like if you were on a regular cruise,
Okay.
but kind of
So
like
they
on a
set-
smaller
they'll set
scale
it-
here.
But who would they set it up with? People in the community or with?
They have a website and clientele and a whole
Won't we
menu
want to
of.
see that our local business?
Oh, no, he
have
plans,
profit from
he
this?
plans on using local people, obviously, but
I would assume
It
that
goes through
because
them.
B.J. Mickelson introduced
yeah.
Yeah.
him, or American Cruise Lines, that B.J. would somehow have a little bit of input along with Meet Me in Marlborough, along with his connections in the ag community.
Eric said he wants to use local people for
Yeah.
transportation. He wants to set up the wine tours locally. He wants to, all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of tours that they offer. But it all goes through him. So it's all on them. So we're hands off when it's done.
'Cause they're
Basically you're paying us to dock on our pier
And then they're making the
and
money.
And
they
so then
then
they'll
take over
excursions.
from there.
Whatever they want to do after that, don't we want to be
Right.
privy to that in any way? Don't we want to make sure that our local business get a share
Well,
of
of
that?
course.
Well, it's going to be low. I mean, they're not going to come off a boat and go 2 or 3 hours away.
Well, I just want to.
I mean, there are some tours, of course, they're gonna do a tour to West Point.
Point.
They're gonna do tours to West Point. They're gonna be a lot of tours. We got the historic homes tours. There's a lot of tours within our community that people don't realize. Not just in our community, we can go up to the Kingston area.
There's the
So-
Gomez Mill House, there's,
But I mean, these people are paying a lot of money for this cruise. I mean, this is not like a low-end cruise line is what I'm getting at. They're paying up to $5,000 a person to do this cruise. So it's, and these people are coming from the city, not just city people. They're people from other countries that are visiting the city. They're people from other states that are visiting the city, and that's who they're promoting it to, right? And so to us, it's a great thing because they're bringing people from all over the world into our community, basically, right? And seeing Marlborough. So that's the idea behind it.
So thank you very much. I'll let you know within,
All right,
to think about.
thanks, Mickey.
thanks.
Any other public comments?
I'll just say, I'm loud enough.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I just wanted to commend the highway department. I live on Sands Avenue. It's not highly salting and the snow removal, especially with the hairpin turn, it's the death defying is really, I've been very thankful and very impressed. And also they cleared the dog, like the driveway or whatever, entrance, it's just been very impressive and I thank you. And it's immediate, I mean, you're not like waiting to the end of the day, very, very nice. So thank you.
Snow removal is my number one priority. That's what I think.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Charlie, you take care of that, right, Charlie? Charlie, just thank Charlie too, because Charlie helps down there. He does the dog part. So, yeah, they're doing a good job, and eventually we'll have the cameras down there for you. They came the other day. They cannot get the line through the conduit. It's frozen still. So, Charlie knows all about it, right, Charlie? Anybody else? Mr. Corcoran? You got 3 minutes.
You're going to force it? Okay.
So sometimes there's a separation between myself as either a code enforcement officer or county legislator, but I'm a resident. So Tom Corcoran, resident, Milton, town of Marlborough. So my question would be on the South Pier. I mean, obviously you can't disclose the numbers of the new quotes for the piles, but I just want to clarify. So the South Pier costs $1.8 million, correct, as of today?
1.81 million, yeah.
$1.81 million. And at some point, we decided to pull the piles out of the project.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got $300,000 in grant money. That was the total, correct, give or take?
313.
313. Yep. So this pier was not paid for by grant money. All right?
Not all.
Very small portion.
All right. So at this point, we taxpayers are funding $1.5 million, give or take.
So how it's broken down is it's 1.81 million, 313,000 is grant. We paid approximately 300,000 out of our fund balance already, and we bonded 1.2 million.
Okay, so it costs as of today to the taxpayer
so about 1.5 is what it is today, and then of course you'll have interest on the 1.2. But
okay.
Yeah.
Right, so interest on 1.2, 1.5 out of taxpayer money, and we still don't have the piles in the water yet for these boats that we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay. The previous statement by Mr. Baker, who was on the board, the number was somewhere in the vicinity of $300,000 to $350,000 for those piles. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, so now we are on an undisclosed number, but that undisclosed number from what you just said, and I didn't know this, is that it's potentially double that.
Yep.
So we're looking at a pier that's going to be costing over $2 million, 2 point some million dollars, with $300,000 in grant money. So to a taxpayer, roughly, without knowing the numbers, we're going to be in almost a $2 million cost.
We're not doing the fender piles unless the cruise companies pay for them. Let's put it that way.
Okay, but...
We're not paying any more money. Okay. We don't have no more money to pay, to be honest with you.
Correct, and not to argue with you, but if the cruise companies do put in the piles, that would be traded off for dock time.
Yep.
So that will be lost income for the town that we would, if we would have put the piles in originally, we would collect an income on those.
Yeah, I mean, originally,
There's no doubt about that.
Originally, this was a $100,000 pullout of the original proposal, because again, the original proposal was for wooden piles, and then when they came down, the wooden piles were too rotted, and then we had to go to steel piles. So we reduced the amount of steel piles to the piles, but to steel, but obviously steel's a lot more. So it was 100,000 give back. You know, hindsight's 20/20. If we would have known now what we known then, you would have probably put the $100,000 in and you would have been done, right? But we didn't do that. So yeah, again, look, you know, this board has already said we are not spending any more money on fender piles. We cannot expect the taxpayer to pay any more. They're paying $1.5 million. You know, if we could work out deals with the touring industry, then yes. But yes, you're correct. It's kind of trading off their port fees for the cost of what the piles would be now. So And that's an undisclosed amount of money, undisclosed amount of time frame, and that's what we have to work out if we get to that point, right?
All right, so, and part of the negotiations will be maintenance on this pier, or is that still going to be ours? Maintenance on the pier? And control of the pier, somebody to...
Control of the pier, maintenance of the pier, what time they could be there, what time they can't be there. It's a public pier. That's the first thing I told Eric. So you got to understand it's a public pier, number one, because the public's paying for it.
Okay. So the phone calls I get as a county legislator, and I'll turn my hat now as a county legislator, I need to inform the constituents that are calling me, and I get hundreds of phone calls a month, is that the pier was not free. It wasn't done by grants. It had a grant funding of $300,000. As of today, taxpayers are at 1.5, and that number is going to go up significantly because we don't have the piles to dock the boats.
Well, it ain't going to go up
originally told
significantly
us.
to the taxpayer because we ain't paying no more money.
Well,
but if we want
yes and no, because if we make this deal with the docking company, it's lost revenue. The $1.5 million that the taxpayers did pay out of pocket were supposed to be reimbursed through the docking fees, which will now not happen over the next
well, that's true if you
10
look
to
at it
15
that way.
years. It would have paid for our bond. So the bond that we were paying on $1.5 million would have almost been paid for by the docking fees if this cruise took off fairly well. We would use that money to pay the bonding off, reducing the cost to the taxpayers.
Yep.
But that revenue will now disappear if we make the deal with them for the cost of these pilings.
Correct.
Just want to be clear so I could explain it to the constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Grandma, you got any questions? Okay, nothing? All right. So public hearing. Anybody have any other questions on the public hearing for local law of the year 2022, repealing the replacing Chapter 67 building construction of the Marlborough Town Code?
So you know that I had questions on the town code today, and Tom was gracious enough to sit with me and explain where they came from, where all of the changes came from. Tom, would you mind giving just a overview for the people in the audience on how these changes come to us so that everyone is as informed as I now am?
Sure, I could have stayed up there.
Sorry.
He's got a bad knee, you know. Come on.
Here, you want to...
He can walk. This operation's okay.
Oh, yeah, there's one right there.
So approximately every 2 to 3 years, New York State changes our code books that the code enforcement officer, building inspectors have to follow. And the code books are either New York State code books, or 3 years ago we went to an international code under the ICC code. So we were governed under those. So what happens is over the years, as the code book changes, and the code book is reactionary to things that happen. Fire happens, they find out that something happened, and they make a new requirement. And a building falls down, and they find out there's a new requirement. So as those requirement changes, the code book changes. And again, we are required to take classes every month to be certified. And with that, they expect the towns to readopt these codes in our code book. All right, so the code book gets an adoption under 67 under building code, giving us guidelines. But those guidelines are it goes through the Marlborough Town Code to the building codes that I have. And I have 6, 7, 8 books on my desk, whether it's the property maintenance code, the plumbing code, the electrical code, the building code of New York, the residential code. So it goes on and on and on. But I cannot enforce those books that are mandatory to do my job if the town doesn't update their coding in 67 to make the allowable adjustments within that. So again, every 2 to 3 years, New York State sends out a mandatory adjustment to the town code, allowing us to do some, zoning code changes in there, but not taking out any of the legal adjustments that they put in the book. So again, every 2 to 3 years, you'll see this come through from New York State saying, we have now changed our code books. We are now asking our code enforcement officers to enforce a new code, and you are now going to have to adopt the section in your code book, allowing him the authority to use the new code books that we have. So that's basically what it is. There's the changes you see in there are changes that the state has made through the code books, but to allow me to enforce those codes, we have to adopt our code to allow me to adopt the new code that's been put in. So again, most recently, the ICC, the international code we had from 17 to 19, we've now got rid of, and we picked up the New York State code again in 2020, and I'll see this changing probably again in another couple of years. But again, you'll see this adoption in another couple of years as they change the code books again.
It gets confusing, guys, right? Because we have town code, which is local, but there's also state town code rules. So like if you go in the supervisor's office, you'll see that book that's one on the shelf. It says State of New York Town Code, and it actually has a lot of what Tom's talking about. They actually have rules and regulations that we have to follow too. So, and gets incorporated into our local town code. So that's what this is getting updated to.
Right, so there's some change. 80% of it's probably, 85% of it's probably the same, and then they make some small changes in there again, allowing me to for you to adopt the town code of Marlborough so I could actually enforce the New York State codes. It allows me to do that. The lack of doing that would eliminate my authority in the town if we don't adopt these codes, mandatory by New York State. All right?
And so just a reminder, you guys know, like Tom, when we got this code back from the state, I had Tom go through it. He met, or actually didn't meet, but through emails, went back and forth with our attorneys to make sure everything was correct, and they verified it, and that's where we got what we have tonight to pass. So, and thanks for asking those questions, because it does get confusing what we're doing. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to ask that we close. Oh, you got a question, Mickey? I'm sorry.
I just wondered, so then, is there anything very specifically highlighted in these state code changes for our code that we should be aware of? Or is it strictly like wording that says your code enforcement officer is mandated to...
Has the authority to enforce the new New York State code. Basically, that's what it comes down to. To break it down generically, it's basically saying, Town of Marlborough has adopted the new code of the state of New York and authorizes your code enforcement officer to now enforce those codes through your code.
So there's no actual changes in our laws?
No, it wasn't like the 48-inch footing and is now changed to 50 inches. That's all of those codes, building
that's
codes,
separate.
fire codes, property maintenance codes are in the New York State code books. Those changes are made in the New York State code books. This is the authority to allow me to enact and enforce those codes as the officer who's been every year re-educated in those books. Because again, if I don't get re-educated with my minimum amount of credits, then I am not allowed to enforce the code. Then they would have to go out and get somebody. The authority for them not to put this in the book wouldn't take away my powers as a code enforcement officer, because I've duly done my due diligence and gotten my education, but would it allow me to enforce the code in Marlborough, because they wouldn't allow the pass-through to get to the books. They would actually have to send somebody down from New York State and take over to town to handle any of the code enforcement. Yeah, but all the code changes are made within the New York State books, and again, that varies what they do in that book, and that varies per basically different states, right? You need a frost footing in New York, but you don't need one in Florida, so they change. So those code books are adopted here. This gives me the authority to actually enforce those codes.
Well taken.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
So if there's no other questions, I'm going to ask that we close the public hearing on the Chapter 67 Building Construction of Marlborough Town Code. I need a motion to close the public
I'll
hearing,
make that
only
motion.
on that.
Make the motion to close the public hearing.
I'd second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we're going to go into resolutions. Resolution 36. This is to advertise for highway items. Let me bring it up here. Okay, Resolution 36, to advertise for highway items. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following. Resolved that the town board authorizes the town clerk to advertise for the following highway materials. Item number 1, road materials, wash stone, 3/4-inch stone. Item 4, delivered per New York State specs. Item 2, material hauling specs available at the town clerk's office. Now therefore be resolved that the town board authorize the town clerk to place a legal notice in the official newspaper of the town requesting sealed bids for highway items, and that all bids must be accompanied by signed non-collusion affidavit and be it further resolved that the bids be received by the office of the town clerk, 21 Milton Turnpike, Milton, New York, 12547, till 2 p.m., April 14th, 2022, at which time they will be opened and read aloud, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Malinelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito?
Yes.
Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes. Resolution 37, to advertise for fuel items. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following. Resolved that the town board authorize the town clerk to advertise for the following items. Number one, propane. Item number 2, heating fuel. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the town board authorize the town clerk to place a legal notice in the official newspaper for the town requesting sealed bids on fuel items, that all bids must be accompanied by a signed non-collusion affidavit, and be it further resolved that all bids be received by the office of the town clerk, 21 Milton Turnpike, Milton, New York, 12547, until 2 p.m., April 14th, 2022, in which they will be opened and read aloud, and moves for its adoption.
I have a question, Don. So you're saying that we're going to put a proposal out for propane and heating fuel as a fixed cost? Is that?
Yep.
And with this climate, they're going to really do that? With this?
Yep.
Really? How can they control it if all of a sudden the spikes
No, what
up?
they do is they do X amount over rack price.
Yeah.
So as the rack price changes, our price goes up, if it goes high. It's a percentage of amount of over top of whatever the rack price is up in Albany.
They give us a set price, like
So
10 cents over rack.
Over rack. And then if it goes up, then our oil goes up, or our propane.
Most of the time, the propane's donated, just to be honest with you. I mean, not
Right.
saying that's going to happen again, but that's what usually happens. And then the heating is usually like so many cents
Yeah,
above
5, 10
rack,
cents over.
rack cost. It's normally local people that are pretty much giving back to their town, right? Go ahead, John.
I'm not familiar with this rack cost. Okay, thank you.
We're getting a lot of, from the vendors that we get blacktop from, stating that the OGS price is the OGS price. It could go up.
Yeah. I mean, right now,
Fuel surcharge.
Yeah.
Fuel is driving. Blacktop is me. Our blacktop went up, they're saying $10 more per ton, but if you went in off the street, it's double what it was.
yeah, everything's going up.
$100 a ton versus we're going to pay $68 a ton, but it could go up.
Everything's related to fuel. Everything. Petroleum is in so many products that
That's
you
what
don't
we're
even realize.
talking
Not even just the cost of moving it. It's in materials. It's in plastic. It's in a lot of things. So, like even I coming in here today, Uber said they're going to have a surcharge for fuel when you call your Uber driver now. So there's going to be an additional charge. So yeah, it's going to it impacts everything. But yeah, they'll put a price in above certain rack price, and whatever the rack price is the daily, that's what you get charged above that. So anyway, any other questions? Okay.
Councilman Malinelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito? Yes. Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes. Okay, so this is the resolution for the local law, and I'm going to go through the first part, but I'm not going to read the whole law because it's extensive. But resolution number 38, to adopt the local law number 1 of the year 2022. Supervisor Corcoran offered the following resolution, which was seconded by
Councilman Malinelli?
Councilman Malinelli, who moved for its adoption, whereas a local law was introduced to be known as Local Law Number 1, 2022, entitled Local Law Number 1 of 2022, a local law of the town of Marlborough, Ulster County, New York, repealing and replacing Chapter 67, Building Construction of the Marlborough Town Code. Whereas a public hearing in relation to the said law was held on March 14, 2022, at 7 p.m. prevailing time. Whereas notice of said public hearing was given pursuant of the terms and provisions of the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York, and whereas said local law has been on the desk of the members of the town board of the town of Marlborough for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday. Now therefore it be resolved that the following local law is hereby enacted. Section 1, Chapter 67 of the Town Code, Town of Marlborough, is repealed and replaced as follows. And again, this is a very lengthy, because it's the whole chapter we're replacing. And you could, if you want to read it, you could read it online. We have it directly on our website. You just go to Town Codes, and you type in Chapter 67, and this all will come up.
It is pretty lengthy.
I would be here an hour if we had to read all this.
Yeah.
Scrolling through takes you a long time.
Just want to make sure, because sometimes in there, you actually have to have a second again.
I didn't see anyone through, but
But I didn't see it. Okay, let me get to this section. All right, Section 2, if any of the sections of this local law shall be held unconstitutional, invalid, or ineffective, the whole or in part such determination shall not be deemed to affect in part the invalidate the remainder of the local law of this law, okay? Section 3, the local law shall be effective upon filing the Secretary of State. Resolved that the town clerk shall file a certified original of this local law in the office of the town clerk and one certified copy in the office of the Secretary of State of New York. Such certified copy to have attached there to a certificate that contains the correct text and enactment of this local law. The foregone resolution was duly put to a vote and resulted as follows.
Supervisor Corcoran.
Yes.
Councilman Malinelli.
yes.
Councilman Kauki.
Yes.
Councilman Zambito.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Resolution 39, to appoint a part-time dispatcher. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following, whereas the town Marlborough Police Department has an open position for a part-time police dispatcher, and where it is a recommendation of the Chief of Police and the Police Committee to appoint Emily Aldridge as part-time police dispatcher. Be resolved that Emily Aldridge be appointed effectively, immediately, and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Malinelli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa.
Yes.
Councilman Kauki.
Yes.
Councilman Zambito.
Yes.
Supervisor Corcoran.
Yes. Resolution 40, to appoint a part-time dispatcher. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following, whereas the town of Marlborough Police Department has an open position for a part-time police dispatcher, and where it is the recommendation of the Chief of Police and the Police Committee to appoint Rashawn White as the part-time police dispatcher, be resolved that Rashawn White be appointed effective immediately and moves for its adoption.
Councilman Malinelli.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa.
Yes.
Councilman Kauki.
Yes.
Councilman Zambito.
Yes.
Supervisor Corcoran.
Yes. Eddie, item number 15.
I think
She didn't even put it on here, but I'm going to go back up.
I think it's a good time to make a motion to adjourn.
Anyone want to second that?
You guys want to stay here? I mean, we can.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Super, Scott.